NBC Sunday Night Football is an American weekly television broadcast of National Football League games on NBC and Peacock in the United States. It began airing on August 6, 2006, with the Pro Football Hall of Fame game, which opened that year's preseason. NBC took over the rights to the Sunday primetime game telecasts from ESPN, which carried the broadcasts from 1987 to 2005. At the same time, ESPN began broadcasting Monday Night Football when it was dropped from sister network ABC. Previously, NBC had aired American Football League, and later American Football Conference, games from 1965 until 1997, when CBS took over those rights. During the 2011-12 season, Sunday Night Football became the first sports program to hold the position as Nielsen's most-watched program on U.S. network television during the year, beating American Idol, which held that honor for 8 consecutive seasons beginning in 2004. Sunday Night Football repeated this feat 3 years running, beginning with the 2013-14 season. As of 2022, Mike Tirico serves as the play-by-play announcer for most broadcasts while Al Michaels does so for special events. Chris Collinsworth serves as color commentator, and Melissa Stark serves as the sideline reporter, with Terry McCauley serving as the rules expert. Upon NBC's assumption of the Sunday primetime game rights, Michaels, John Madden, Fred Gaudelli, and Drew Isakoff, who served as the respective play-by-play announcer, color commentator, lead producer, and director, joined SNF in the same positions they held during the latter portion of the ABC era of Monday Night Football. Madden retired prior to the 2009 season, and was succeeded in that role by Collinsworth. Tirico succeeded Michaels following Super Bowl LVI. Since 2014, sister cable channel Universo has carried Spanish-language simulcasts of select games, after years of aborted attempts to simulcast the games on Telemundo. As with the NFL's other television partners, NBC provides Spanish-language audio feed of the game broadcasts via second audio program, formerly noted as being provided by Telemundo before the rebranding of that entity's sports division to Telemundo Deportes. With the former MUN2's relaunch on February 1, 2015, Universo began to carry the full season with the start of the 2015 season and simulcast Super Bowl XLIX, the channel carrying Spanish-language simulcasts of NFL games and NBC sports properties. Telemundo would later carry Spanish-language broadcasts of select games, beginning in 2021, with an NFL Super Wildcard game. Telemundo also broadcast Super Bowl LVI in 2022. Background. Early history. The NFL Network's coverage was not the first time that NFL games were covered on Thursday or Saturday. ABC televised occasional Thursday night games from 1978 to 1986 as part of its Monday Night Football package. Prior to the new contract, ESPN carried a handful of sporadic Thursday night games and the broadcast networks used to air several national games on Saturday afternoons in mid to late December after the college football regular season ended. Incidentally, the only reason the league is even allowed to televise football games on Saturday night stems from a legal loophole, the league's antitrust exemption. The Sports Broadcasting Act of 1961 was written when the NFL regular season ended in mid-December, and as such, it contains specific language that prohibits televising NFL games in most markets on Friday nights and all day on Saturdays between the second week of September and the second week of December, to protect high school and college football. Since most high school and college seasons have ended by mid-December, other than bowl games, there has been little desire to close this loophole, even though the regular season has expanded well beyond mid-December since the law's passage. In 2005, when the NFL negotiated a new set of television contracts, Comcast owned OLA and offered to pay $450 million for an 8-year contract to carry NFL primetime games. In exchange, Comcast planned to add NFL Network to its digital cable lineup. The channel was added, but NFL Network decided to air the games itself, foregoing a rights fee. The other television deals generated $3.735 billion per year over an 8-year period for CBS, Fox, NBC, ESPN, and DirecTV. As previously mentioned, Thursday Night Football debuted on November 23, 2006, with the Kansas City Chiefs handing the visiting Denver Broncos a 19-10 Thanksgiving defeat. Each of the game broadcasts were titled either Thursday Night Football or Saturday Night Football, depending on the night on which it aired. This format carried over to the 2007 season. At its launch, the package proved highly controversial mainly due to the relative unavailability of NFL Network at the time. The league used the games as leverage to encourage television providers to carry NFL Network on their basic service tiers, rather than in premium, sports-oriented packages that required subscribers to pay a higher fee, although, as with all other national cable telecasts of NFL games, the league's own regulations require the games to be syndicated to over-the-air television stations in the local markets of the teams. These issues were magnified in 2007, when a game that saw the New England Patriots close out a perfect regular season was simulcast nationally on both CBS and NBC, in addition to NFL Network and the local stations that the game was sold to, following concerns from politicians and other critics. Starting in 2008, NFL Network eliminated all but one of the Saturday night games and started their Thursday night package 3 weeks earlier. This was done to accommodate the earlier schedule and the league's antitrust exemption that prohibits Saturday games from being held for most of the season. In the following season, all references to Saturday Night Football were dropped, and any games that are not played on Thursday have since been branded as special editions of Thursday Night Football, and later Thursday Night Special or NFL Network Special. The Thanksgiving matchup was moved from NFL Network to NBC's Sunday Night Football package as part of the new broadcast contract after the 2011 season. During Super Bowl week in 2012, it was announced that the Thursday Night Football package would expand from 8 to 13 games and air on NFL Network, again soliciting and rejecting offers from Turner Sports and Comcast. Starting with the 2012 season, all 32 teams play a Thursday game following a Sunday game that guarantees each team a nationally televised game, with 26 of them playing on Thursday Night Football and the other 6 playing on Thanksgiving. In addition, matchups are created with the intent to minimize travel in the lead-up to the Thursday game. In general, the road team will always play a home game the Sunday prior, while the home team will either play at home or a road game against a nearby opponent the Sunday before hosting the Thursday game. For the 2012 season, a Spanish-language broadcast was added as second audio program. 2014-2015, partnership with CBS Sports. In January 2014, it was reported that the NFL was planning to sub-license a package of up to 8 Thursday Night Football games to another broadcaster for the 2014 season. The league had negotiated with its existing broadcast partners, along with Turner Sports. These 8 games were to be simulcast by NFL Network, and reports indicated that ESPN planned to place the games on ABC in the event it won the rights, bringing the NFL back to the network for the first time since Super Bowl XL and the move of Monday Night Football to ESPN in 2006. The remaining games would remain exclusive to NFL Network, in order to satisfy carriage agreements with television providers guaranteeing a minimum number of games to air exclusively on the channel. The decision came as the league wished to heighten the profile of its Thursday night games, which had suffered from relatively lower viewership and advertising revenue in comparison to other games. On February 5, 2014, the NFL announced that CBS had acquired the partial rights to TNF for the 2014 season. Under the agreement, all of the Thursday Night Football telecasts would be produced by CBS Sports and called by the network's primary announcing team of Jim Nantz and Phil Simms. The first 8 games of the season were simulcast nationally on NFL Network and CBS. The remaining games in the package only aired nationally on NFL Network, but per league broadcast policies, were simulcast on local stations in the participating teams' markets. CBS affiliates were given right of first refusal to air the local simulcast before it is offered to another station. A Saturday doubleheader was also added on Week 16. NFL Network aired the early game, while CBS aired the second, prime-time game. The NFL considered CBS's bid to be the most attractive, owing to the network's overall ratings stature, a commitment to aggressively promote the Thursday games across its properties, and its plans to utilize CBS Sports' top NFL talent and production staff across all of the games in the package to ensure a major improvement in quality over the previous, in-house productions. CBS staff also cited experience with its joint coverage of the NCAA men's basketball tournament with Turner Sports as an advantage in its collaboration with NFL Network staff, as talent from both networks collaborate on pre-game, halftime and post-game coverage. During the games, a distinct graphics package co-branded with both CBS and NFL Network logos was used. Certain players on each team wore microphones, and 4K cameras were used to allow zoom-in shots during instant replays. With the move of selected games to CBS, media executives expected more major match UPS to appear on Thursday Night Football than in previous years in order to attract better viewership. In the past, Thursday Night Football had been criticized for often featuring games between lesser and poorer performing teams. CBS and the NFL unveiled the games scheduled for Thursday Night Football in April 2014. CBS's slate of games featured a number of major divisional rivalries, including New York Giants-Washington, Green Bay, Minnesota, and its opening game on September 11, 2014, featuring the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. In the wake of the controversy surrounding Ravens player Ray Rice, changes were made to pre-game coverage on the first game in order to accommodate additional interviews and discussion related to the incident. Among these changes were the removal of an introductory segment featuring Rihanna performing her song Run This Town. Following complaints by Rihanna on Twitter regarding the removal, the song was pulled entirely from future broadcasts. The rights were negotiated under a one-year contract valued at $275 million. On January 18, 2015, the NFL announced that it would renew the arrangement with CBS for the 2015 season, with its value increasing to around $300 million. 2016-2017, CBS, NBC, and TriCast with Twitter and Amazon Prime Video. In November 2015, The Hollywood Reporter reported that in response to the success of the package under CBS, the NFL was planning to negotiate a long-term contract for TNF, with CBS, Fox, NBC, and Turner Sports showing interest. The New York Post reported that this deal would also include the sale of a stake in NFL Network itself. On December 16, 2015, it was reported that the NFL was shopping the TNF package as a one-year deal with an option for a second year. Similarly to the current arrangement with CBS, the league also requested that bidders outline goals for growing NFL Network. The league was also reportedly interested in selling non-exclusive digital rights to simulcast the games to another partner, such as Amazon.com, Apple Incorporated, Google, or Yahoo. In January 2016, it was reported that the NFL was considering splitting the TNF package across multiple broadcasters in tandem with the possibility of expanding the overall package to 17 games. It was also reported that ESPN and Turner Sports were not interested in the package due to its short-term nature, and that Fox was attempting to outbid CBS. On February 1, 2016, the NFL announced that TNF would be shared between CBS, NBC, and NFL Network for the 2016 and 2017 seasons. CBS and NBC would each air 5 games, followed by an additional 8 games exclusively on NFL Network to satisfy NFL Network's retransmission consent contracts with cable providers. The 8 NFL Network exclusive games included 6 Thursday contests, a Sunday morning International Series contest, and a Christmas Day game. As with the previous contract, all games will be simulcast by NFL Network. Commissioner Roger Goodell stated that the league was thrilled to add NBC to the TNF mix, a trusted partner with a proven track record of success broadcasting NFL football in primetime, and look forward to expanding with a digital partner for what will be a unique TriCast on broadcast, cable, and digital platforms. On April 5, 2016, it was revealed that Twitter had acquired non-exclusive worldwide digital streaming rights to the 10 broadcast television TNF games. The collaboration will also include streaming content on Twitter's Periscope service, such as behind-the-scenes access. This also gave NBC a rare distinction of holding 2 primetime NFL packages, with them already holding Sunday night games. Rogers Media, who owns television rights to the TNF package in Canada through the end of the 2016 season but has not yet acquired digital rights, successfully forced Twitter to block the game streams in that country, overriding the league's insistence that the free stream be global. Due to the streaming deal, over-the-top television providers PlayStation Vue and Sling TV are also required to black out the simulcast of the games on NFL Network. The first game produced by NBC Sports was broadcast exclusively on NFL Network on November 3, 2016, while the first game simulcast nationally on NBC aired on November 17. A cappella group Pentatonix recorded a reworked version of their song Sing to serve as the opening theme song for NBC's TNF telecasts. NBC also commissioned new instrumental theme music by Jimmy Greco, Can't Hold Us Down, which was performed by members of the orchestra from the Broadway musical Hamilton. Both were retained for NBC's games in 2017. On April 4, 2017, it was announced that Amazon.com had acquired non-exclusive streaming rights to the 10 broadcast television games for the 2017 season over their Amazon Prime Video service, under a deal valued at $50 million, a 5-fold increase over the $10 million paid by Twitter. The streams were exclusive to paid Prime subscribers. The deal includes $30 million worth of promotion. Amazon planned several special features for its inaugural game, including broadcasting alternate feeds with Spanish, Portuguese, and a secondary English broadcast featuring soccer commentators Ross Dyer and Tommy Smith, and a pre-show hosted by Tiki Barber and Curtis Stone that featured presentations of NFL merchandise available for purchase on Amazon. The November 16, 2017 telecast between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Tennessee Titans was the first NFL broadcast to intentionally use the Skycam as its primary camera angle, as opposed to the usual sideline camera that has been used since telecasts of NFL games began in 1939. NBC Sports had previously switched to a Skycam-only presentation for portions of 2 Sunday night games earlier that season because of fog and smoke. Positive reaction to the impromptu change prompted NBC to experiment with using the strategy for the full game. The Skycam angle was also used for the December 14 telecast between the Denver Broncos and the Indianapolis Colts. 2018-2021, Fox and Amazon Prime Video. In early January 2018, Bloomberg reported that ABC/ESPN and Fox Sports had both made bids for the next TNF package. Both Fox and Fox Sports 1 were named as potential outlets for the package in the Fox Sports bid, which was intended to showcase Fox's continued commitment to sports after the sale of its entertainment businesses to ESPN's majority owner, the Walt Disney Company. CBS and NBC were also considering renewing their existing contracts, but had requested a lower rights fee to compensate for the decreasing viewership of the NFL. It was also reported that the NFL would also allow digital companies to make bids for exclusive rights to the TNF package, which forego a television partner entirely, unlike the previous non-exclusive deals with Twitter and Amazon. On January 30, 2018, it was reported by multiple sources that Fox had won the package. The next day, the NFL officially announced that Fox had acquired the broadcast television rights to the TNF package under a 5-year deal lasting from 2018 through 2022. The Fox network would air 11 games per season in simulcast with NFL Network, and Fox Sports would produce all games within the package. ESPN reported that Fox would be paying around $60 million per game, an increase over the estimated $45 million per game paid by CBS and NBC under the previous contract, totaling an estimated $660 million per season. The Fox deal was terminated a season early in 2021. Amazon renewed its digital rights for the 2018 and 2019 seasons, in contrast to 2017, in which the games required an Amazon Prime subscription. For 2018 and 2019, Amazon also carries game coverage for free on its live streaming platform Twitch. Alongside the main Fox feed, British English, and Spanish options, the Amazon Prime streams offer an alternate commentary feed featuring ESPN anchor Hannah Storm and NFL Network chief correspondent Andrea Creamer, the first all-female commentary team in NFL history. The Twitch streams offer access to the service's standard chat room, an interactive extension, and CO streams featuring prominent personalities, while streams on Amazon Fire devices offer integration with the X-ray feature to access statistics and other content. Fox employed 45 cameras, a dual Skycam setup, triple lens pylon cameras, and Intel TrueView replay systems where available. Fox NFL Thursday originated from Fox News Channel's Studio F in New York City, as well as an outdoor plaza set up on 6th Avenue with a scaled football field and an audience. A new graphics package was produced by Drive Studio, inspired by Times Square to reflect its New York City-based studio programming. Unlike CBS and NBC, Fox utilized the same in-game presentation it uses for all other NFL games broadcast by the network. For 2019, Fox announced that it would produce all of its games in 1080p upscaled to 4K, with hybrid log gamma high dynamic range color, beginning with its season premiere September 26, 2019. The telecasts were distributed via the Fox Sports app, Prime Video, and to participating television providers. HDR was only supported through television providers, but Fox stated that HDR and surround sound support would be enabled via streaming soon. Due a carriage dispute between Dish Network and Fox resulting in the removal of its owned and operated stations and cable networks, it was reported that Fox had pushed NFL Network to black out its simulcast of the October 3, 2019 game between the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks for Dish Network subscribers to prevent circumvention. However, due to a clause in Dish's carriage agreement that forbade the channel from performing provider-specific programming substitutions, NFL Network agreed to forego the simulcast entirely, and the game was made exclusive to Fox. Fox and Dish agreed to a multi-year carriage agreement on October 6, 2019. On April 29, 2020, Amazon renewed its digital rights through the 2022 season, maintaining the TNF simulcasts and digital content, and also adding exclusive international rights to one late-season game per season outside of the package. For its simulcasts, Amazon replaced the British feed with a new Scouts feed with extended analysis by Bucky Brooks and Daniel Jeremiah, and NFL Next Live on Twitch. On October 19, because of a COVID-19 outbreak involving the Tennessee Titans. The originally scheduled Thursday night game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills was moved to the following Monday due to the Titans playing the Bills the previous Tuesday. The Chiefs won 26-17. In a similar move, the Baltimore Ravens had their scheduled Week 13 TNF game against the Dallas Cowboys postponed to the following Tuesday. The Ravens had dealt with their own outbreak, which included positive tests from players including reigning MVP Lamar Jackson. For that reason, the Ravens had to postpone their Thanksgiving game against the Pittsburgh Steelers 3 times. The first time was originally postponed to the Sunday after Thanksgiving in the afternoon, then postponed a second time to the following Tuesday night, then postponed again to the following Wednesday in the afternoon. The postponements forced the Steelers' Week 13 game against the Washington football team to be moved from Sunday, December 6, to Monday, December 7, and as mentioned, the Cowboys-Ravens game a day later, with both games remaining on NFL Network, Fox, and Prime Video. 2022-2033, Amazon Prime Video. In March 2021, Amazon acquired exclusive rights to TNF as part of the next round of NFL broadcasting agreements from 2023 through 2033. NFL Network, Fox, and Amazon subsequently opted out of the final year of the current agreement, meaning that Amazon's rights would begin in the 2022 NFL season instead. Along with lead play-by-play announcer Al Michaels, Sunday Night Football producer Fred Gaudelli moved from NBC to Amazon. Gaudelli explained that his production operated under a notion that they needed to produce a great broadcast before they could start breaking things and being different, as NFL viewers had specific expectations as to how a game should be broadcast. Jared Stacy, Amazon's head of global live sports production, stated that they were challenged by our leadership to figure out what's next and to take some swings. Gaudelli went as far as suggesting that the on-field down and distance graphic use Amazon's smile symbol as an arrow. Amazon will employ 13 super slow-mo cameras, 2 Skycams, and Trackman ball tracking. Pina Toprak composed new theme music for the telecasts. Features from the previous simulcasts of TNF on Amazon platforms will return, including X-Ray, and broadcasts on Twitch. Amazon also plans alternate broadcasts for Prime Video and Twitch, such as one that features the sports comedy team Dude Perfect. It was reported that Amazon was seeking advertising rates 20% higher than those of Thursday games in past seasons. Per a corporate policy prohibiting advertising that encourage, glamorize, or depict excessive consumption of alcohol on its platforms, Amazon is not allowing commercials for alcoholic beverages to air during its telecasts. As with all other NFL telecasts not on national broadcast television, all Thursday night football games are required to be simulcast on a broadcast television station in the home market of each participating team. To ensure availability of the broadcasts at commercial establishments such as bars and restaurants, Amazon partnered with DirecTV to carry its Thursday night football telecasts on special channels for its business customers. In addition, Amazon reached an agreement with Nielsen Media Research to provide audience measurement under a 3-year deal, allowing the game's viewership on Prime Video, Twitch, out of home, and on local broadcast stations to be tabulated in the Nielsen ratings. Amazon carried a preseason game on August 25, 2022, featuring the San Francisco 49ers at the Houston Texans. The first regular season game on September 15, 2022 featured the Los Angeles Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs. Nielsen reported an average of 13 million viewers across all measured platforms, which were in line with the average numbers that were garnered by Fox's Thursday Night Football broadcasts in the 2021 season, and an increase of 5 million over that year's season opener. The Week 9 game featuring the Philadelphia Eagles at the Houston Texans on November 3, 2022, is scheduled for kickoff minutes after the first pitch of Game 5 of the 2022 World Series, which featured the Phillies and Astros, the respective cities' MLB teams. On October 18, 2022, the NFL announced that Thursday Night Football would add a game on the Friday after Thanksgiving beginning in 2023. Coverage. Game announcers. The initial NFL Network team consisted of HBO Sports' Bryant Gumbel as play-by-play announcer, NBC Sports' Chris Collinsworth as the color commentator for the Thursday telecasts, and Dick Vermeil replacing Collinsworth for Saturday telecasts. In 2007, Collinsworth replaced Vermeil alongside Gumbel for all games. Gumbel left the network after the 2007 season, and his then HBO colleague Bob Papa, who is also the radio voice of the New York Giants, was brought in to replace him. Collinsworth stayed on until the end of the 2008 season, then left to take over for the retiring John Madden as lead analyst on NBC Sunday Night Football. NFL Network replaced him with Matt Millen, who returned to broadcasting in 2009, and then added former ESPN analyst Joe Theismann for 2010. For 2011, then ESPN and now CBS play-by-play man Brad Nessler took over the Thursday night broadcast. He was joined by NFL Network draft analyst and NBC Notre Dame color man Mike Mayock, and the pairing spent 3 seasons calling games. As a result of CBS taking over production responsibilities for the TNF broadcasts, its number 1 broadcast team of Jim Nantz and Phil Simms took over the broadcast booth. With NBC adding games in 2016, Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth, the broadcast team of NBC Sunday Night Football, were required under league contract to do the same. NBC had initially hired former Monday Night Football play-by-play man Mike Tirico for Thursdays before the league nixed the idea of any separate broadcast teams for Sunday and Thursday nights. Tirico would eventually call 3 Sunday Night Football games, including the Thanksgiving night game, which is in the SNF package, in order for NBC to allow Michaels over a week's rest before the end of the season. Tirico would also call the December 22, 2016 TNF game alongside Collinsworth, as well as 2 NBC-produced Thursday night special game broadcasts on December 18 and Christmas Day, respectively, both alongside former USFL and NFL quarterback Doug Flutie, who serves as the analyst for NBC's college football coverage as well. On May 31, 2017, it was announced that Tirico would replace Michaels full-time for NBC's Thursday night football games. For 2017, Kurt Warner would similarly fill in for Collinsworth on 2 non-Thursday games. For 2017, CBS hired Tony Romo as its lead color commentator. Numerous complications needed to be resolved, namely Romo's reluctance to cover both Sunday and Thursday nights as required under the Thursday Night Football contract, and the fact that Simms remains under contract with CBS through the next several years. However, the network confirmed via press release that Romo's duties would include Sunday and Thursday games. With TNF moving to Fox in 2018, the network announced that its top team of Joe Buck and Troy Aikman would call the games, after months of speculation that 5-time NFL MVP Peyton Manning would be hired by the network to call their Thursday games. The duo was joined by Aaron Andrews, who normally works with Buck and Aikman on Sundays, Christina Pink, and Mike Pereira, one of 2 rule analysts for Fox. In previous seasons prior to Fox's TNF contract, Buck did not call any NFL games during late October, working Major League Baseball playoff games instead. For 2018, none of Fox's scheduled MLB playoff broadcasts landed on a Thursday, so Buck continued to broadcast both sports, crisscrossing the country in 7 cities over a 22-day period. The following year, the Chiefs-Broncos telecast fell on the same evening as Game 4 of the ALCS, requiring Buck to leave New York City for Denver and Joe Davis to fill in on baseball. NFL Network has occasionally used non-Fox Sports broadcast teams for the games that air exclusively on that network. On October 14, 2018, the NFL announced via press release that the NFL Game Day morning studio team of Rich Eisen, Steve Mariucci, Kurt Warner, and Michael Irvin would be calling the Eagles-Jaguars London game on October 28. They were joined by Melissa Stark, who made her first appearance as a sideline reporter since ABC's coverage of Super Bowl XXXVII, and Peter Schrager, from Fox Sports, and NFL Network's Good Morning Football. The network kept the four-man booth for the 2019 London Games. For 2018 and 2019, NFL Network borrowed Mike Tirico from former TNF holder NBC to serve as play-by-play for the network's Saturday games, and reunited him with Warner on color commentary. Tirico and Warner were joined by Schrager on the sidelines. The early Saturday games in 2018 were announced by the trio of Kurt Menefee, Steve Mariucci, and Nate Burleson, with Stark on the sideline. Menefee and Mariucci were both dropped from Saturday coverage in 2019, as they was replaced by Eisen and Joe Thomas for Texans-Buccaneers, the early game of the triple-header in 2019, while Fox's B-team of Kevin Burkhardt, Charles Davis, and Pam Oliver called Rams 49 ERS, the third game of the 2019 Saturday triple-header. Tirico had been scheduled to call Saturday games again in 2020, but after Al Michaels failed to clear NBC protocols for COVID-19, Tirico was dispatched to Sunday Night Football and Joe Davis worked the Saturday broadcasts with Warner. In 2021 NFL London game was produced by CBS with Greg Gumbel and Adam Archuleta, Joe Davis, and Kurt Warner paired up again Raiders vs. Browns in Week 15 and Colts vs. Cardinals in Week 16. Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson worked Colts vs. Patriots in Week 15 and the TNF game between the 49 ERS and Titans in Week 16. After unsuccessfully attempting to lure Aikman away from Fox for TNF full-time, Amazon hired Al Michaels and ESPN college football analyst Kirk Herbstreit as its lead broadcast team. In July 2022, Amazon then added former ESPN and ABC News reporter Kylie Hartung as its sideline reporter. Pre-game, halftime, and post-game coverage. Each game telecast on NFL Network was preceded by NFL Game Day Kickoff, which broadcast live from the site of each game and featured Colleen Wolfe as its host, with Joe Thomas, Michael Irvin, and Steve Smith Sr., or other NFL Network colleagues as analysts. The show generally begins 2 hours before game time. NFL Network later introduced a second studio show earlier in the afternoon, TNF First Look, hosted by Andrew Siciliano. CBS games were preceded by Thursday Night Kickoff, hosted by James Brown, Bill Cowher, and Deion Sanders, and was simulcast on CBS and NFL Network. NBC games were preceded by Football Night in America, hosted by Liam McHugh, Tony Dungy, and Rodney Harrison, and were likewise simulcast on NBC and NFL Network. NFL Network's pre-game crew typically joined the NBC and CBS crews for pre-game coverage. NBC and CBS would join NFL Network's pre-game coverage at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time during its games. This resulted in some controversy among viewers and the producers of syndicated programming in the locally programmed time slot before network prime time, where the pre-game affects programs such as Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy! And Entertainment Tonight, along with several other programs, which then require preemption or slotting on lower-profile alternate time slots or stations to air in markets where they are carried by CBS, Fox, or NBC affiliates in order to accommodate the Thursday games. For Fox, game telecasts were preceded by Fox NFL Thursday. In 2018, it was hosted with a fixed lineup hosted by Michael Strahan, with analysts Terry Bradshaw, Howie Long, and insider Jay Glazer. Unlike CBS and NBC, the NFL Network crew would not join Fox's pregame coverage, as the latter's pregame became the main pregame show for TNF. In 2019, Strahan remained host, but with Bradshaw and Long rotating as analyst, alongside analyst Tony Gonzalez, and insider Peter Schrager, serving as insider. Fox also signed Rob Gronkowski to make appearances on the program. To accommodate Strahan's commitments to ABC's morning show Good Morning America, the program was broadcast from New York City, with studio segments originating from Fox News Channel's studios rather than Fox Sports' Los Angeles studios. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the pregame show moved to Los Angeles with Kurt Menefee serving as main host. Strahan made remote appearances during the season due to his GMA commitments. Gonzalez left Fox prior to the 2021 season to pursue other film and television projects. Amazon's games are preceded by TNF Tonight, which is hosted from the game site by Carissa Thompson, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Tony Gonzalez, and Richard Sherman, with contributions by Andrew Whitworth, Taylor Rooks, and Michael Smith. Radio coverage. As with all other national games, Westwood One provides radio broadcasts of Thursday Night Football games as part of its national radio package for the NFL. Ian Eagle handles play-by-play, with Tony Boselli handling color analysis. Game announcers. The initial NFL Network team consisted of HBO Sports' Bryant Gumbel as play-by-play announcer, NBC Sports' Chris Collinsworth as the color commentator for the Thursday telecasts, and Dick Vermeil replacing Collinsworth for Saturday telecasts. In 2007, Collinsworth replaced Vermeil alongside Gumbel for all games. Gumbel left the network after the 2007 season and his then HBO colleague Bob Papa, who is also the radio voice of the New York Giants, was brought in to replace him. Collinsworth stayed on until the end of the 2008 season, then left to take over for the retiring John Madden as lead analyst on NBC Sunday Night Football. NFL Network replaced him with Matt Millen, who returned to broadcasting in 2009, and then added former ESPN analyst Joe Theismann for 2010. For 2011, then ESPN and now CBS play-by-play man Brad Nessler took over the Thursday night broadcast. He was joined by NFL Network draft analyst and NBC Notre Dame color man Mike Mayock, and the pairing spent 3 seasons calling games. As a result of CBS taking over production responsibilities for the TNF broadcasts, its number 1 broadcast team of Jim Nantz and Phil Simms took over the broadcast booth. With NBC adding games in 2016, Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth, the broadcast team of NBC Sunday Night Football, were required under league contract to do the same. NBC had initially hired former Monday Night Football play-by-play man Mike Tirico for Thursdays before the league nixed the idea of any separate broadcast teams for Sunday and Thursday nights. Tirico would eventually call 3 Sunday Night Football games, including the Thanksgiving night game which is in the SNF package, in order for NBC to allow Michaels over a week's rest before the end of the season. Tirico would also call the December 22, 2016 TNF game alongside Collinsworth, as well as 2 NBC-produced Thursday night special game broadcasts on December 18 and Christmas Day, respectively, both alongside former USFL and NFL quarterback Doug Flutie, who serves as the analyst for NBC's college football coverage as well. On May 31, 2017, it was announced that Tirico would replace Michaels full-time for NBC's Thursday night football games. For 2017, Kurt Warner would similarly fill in for Collinsworth on 2 non-Thursday games. For 2017, CBS hired Tony Romo as its lead color commentator. Numerous complications needed to be resolved, namely Romo's reluctance to cover both Sunday and Thursday nights as required under the Thursday Night Football contract, and the fact that Sims remains under contract with CBS through the next several years. However, the network confirmed via press release that Romo's duties would include Sunday and Thursday games. With TNF moving to Fox in 2018, the network announced that its top team of Joe Buck and Troy Aikman would call the games, after months of speculation that five-time NFL MVP Peyton Manning would be hired by the network to call their Thursday games. The duo was joined by Aaron Andrews, who normally works with Buck and Aikman on Sundays, Christina Pink, and Mike Pereira, one of two rule analysts for Fox. In previous seasons prior to Fox's TNF contract, Buck did not call any NFL games during late October, working Major League Baseball playoff games instead. For 2018, none of Fox's scheduled MLB playoff broadcasts landed on a Thursday, so Buck continued to broadcast both sports, crisscrossing the country in 7 cities over a 22-day period. The following year, the Chiefs-Broncos telecast fell on the same evening as Game 4 of the ALCS, requiring Buck to leave New York City for Denver and Joe Davis to fill in on baseball. NFL Network has occasionally used non-Fox Sports broadcast teams for the games that air exclusively on that network. On October 14, 2018, the NFL announced via press release that the NFL Game Day morning studio team of Rich Eisen, Steve Mariucci, Kurt Warner, and Michael Irvin would be calling the Eagles-Jaguars London game on October 28. They were joined by Melissa Stark, who made her first appearance as a sideline reporter since ABC's coverage of Super Bowl XXXVII, and Peter Schrager, from Fox Sports, and NFL Network's Good Morning Football. The network kept the 4-man booth for the 2019 London Games. For 2018 and 2019, NFL Network borrowed Mike Tirico from former TNF holder NBC to serve as play-by-play for the network's Saturday games, and reunited him with Warner on color commentary. Tirico and Warner were joined by Schrager on the sidelines. The early Saturday games in 2018 were announced by the trio of Kurt Menefee, Steve Mariucci, and Nate Burleson, with Stark on the sideline. Menefee and Mariucci were both dropped from Saturday coverage in 2019, as they was replaced by Eisen and Joe Thomas for Texans-Buccaneers, the early game of the triple-header in 2019, while Fox's B team of Kevin Burkhardt, Charles Davis, and Pam Oliver called Rams 49 ERS, the third game of the 2019 Saturday triple-header. Tirico had been scheduled to call Saturday games again in 2020, but after Al Michaels failed to clear NBC protocols for COVID-19, Tirico was dispatched to Sunday Night Football and Joe Davis worked the Saturday broadcasts with Warner. In 2021 NFL London game was produced by CBS with Greg Gumbel and Adam Archuleta, Joe Davis, and Kurt Warner paired up again Raiders vs. Browns in Week 15 and Colts vs. Cardinals in Week 16. Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson worked Colts vs. Patriots in Week 15 and the TNF game between the 49 ERS and Titans in Week 16. After unsuccessfully attempting to lure Aikman away from Fox for TNF full-time, Amazon hired Al Michaels and ESPN college football analyst Kirk Herbstreit as its lead broadcast team. In July 2022, Amazon then added former ESPN and ABC News reporter Kylie Hartung as its sideline reporter. Television. Current. Game coverage. Alternate broadcasts. Pre-game coverage. Former. Radio. Current. Former. Results. This table shows the National Football League teams' all-time standings for games played on Thursday Night Football. Standings are current as of Week 9 of the 2022 NFL season. Asterisk St. Louis Rams, 1995-2015. San Diego Chargers, 1961-2016. Oakland Raiders, 1995-2019. Washington Redskins, 1937-2019, Washington Football Team, 2020-2021. Reception. Carriage. Upon the original launch of the Thursday and Saturday night games, few television service providers carried the NFL network due to disputes during the network's terms in its carriage contracts during negotiations. These disputes were magnified throughout the 2007 season, as two high-profile matchups were to be broadcast by the network. The first was a matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and Green Bay Packers, which was scheduled for the week after Thanksgiving and saw both teams at 10-1, vying for the top seed in the NFC, and the second was Week 17 Saturday night game between the New England Patriots and the New York Giants, where the Patriots had a chance to become the first team since the 1972 Miami Dolphins to end a regular season undefeated. In the first case, fans were displeased that a matchup between two teams at such a critical point in the season was not available on broadcast television except in the Dallas and Green Bay markets. To avoid such a problem with the potential 16th victory for the Patriots, CBS and NBC bought broadcast rights to the game so it could be seen by a nationwide audience on both cable and broadcast television. This ended up causing another controversy, however, as the move by the networks infringed on the exclusivity that would normally have been enjoyed by WWOR-TV in New York City and WCVB-TV in Boston, which were the Giants and Patriots' respective local over-the-air broadcasters for cable televised games. Game quality and viewership. Thursday night football games on NFL Network are among the lowest-rated nationally televised NFL broadcasts. Critics have argued that the games televised on Thursday Night Football have been of lower quality than other prime-time games, as they often featured match ups between lesser or poor-performing teams, and that the shortened rest between games triggered by Thursday games also has an effect on their overall quality. In an analysis by Sports on Earth writer Aaron Roberts, it was determined that most Thursday games were of average or above average quality in comparison to normal, non-prime time games, but that this was by design due to the leverage of other NFL broadcasters on how games are scheduled throughout the season. The move of selected games to CBS brought improved ratings. The inaugural game was the highest-rated program of the night, with an audience share of 13.7 and an average of 20.7 million viewers, representing a 108% increase in ratings over the first NFL Network game in 2013. The game, whose ratings were boosted by coverage of the Ray Rice scandal, also brought CBS its highest prime-time ratings on a Thursday night since May 2006. While lower, at 9.6 million viewers, the Week 3 game between the Atlanta Falcons and Tampa Bay Buccaneers was also the highest-rated program of the night. The first 4 games of the package, however, featured blowout victories. In total, average viewership of the games increased from around 7 million to around 11.8 million in the 2014 season. Controversy over ratings and the quality of play in Thursday night contests escalated when on November 28, 2016, a report circulated that the league was considering ending the franchise. The NFL, however, denied this rumor. The subsequent game on December 1, 2016 between the Dallas Cowboys and the Minnesota Vikings was the highest-rated Thursday night football of the season. During the 2016 season, current and former players including Richard Sherman, J.J. Watt, and Charles Woodson expressed their dislikes for Thursday night football, with Richard Sherman calling it a poop fest. The September 20, 2018 game between the New York Jets and Cleveland Browns, which saw the debut of Cleveland's first overall pick Baker Mayfield, as well as the team breaking a nearly 2-year losing streak, set a record for the highest-rated NFL Network exclusive broadcast in Thursday night football history, with a 5.2 household rating and over 8 million viewers. Player safety. As mentioned, a team needing to play a Thursday night game can result in a shortened rest period for players between games. On October 6, 2014, Arian Foster, then of the Houston Texans, made a statement considering it hypocritical for the NFL to emphasize the safety of players while allowing its players to play a game on only 3 days rest, which he considered to be equally dangerous. Richard Sherman of the Seattle Seahawks has also voiced displeasure about Thursday night games reducing prep time, and wrote a 2016 editorial for the Players Tribune about the games. Sherman's 2017 season would end on November 9, 2017 during a Thursday night game against the Arizona Cardinals, when he ruptured his Achilles tendon. On January 29, 2015, the NFL released its health and safety report, which tintates that an average of 4.8 injuries were sustained during Thursday games compared to 6.9 injuries per game on Sundays and Mondays. During their September 29, 2022 game against Cincinnati, Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa hit the ground with his left elbow, back, and back of his helmet after taking a sack. Tagovailoa demonstrated a fencing response, and was stretchered off the field and transported to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center with head and neck injuries. He was discharged from the hospital later that night. The game took place only 4 days after the Dolphins' previous game against Buffalo, where Tagovailoa was briefly taken out of the game due to a head injury, but returned to the game afterward. That decision prompted an investigation by the NFLPA as a possible violation of concussion protocol. The NFL stated there were indications that the concussion protocol had been followed in this case. The NFL faced scrutiny over its concussion policy following the game, with critics arguing that Tagovailoa should not have been cleared to play at all. The league's chief medical officer Alan Sills stated that "We want to be thorough, and we want to be consistent and be fair to everyone involved and make sure that we have all the data on hand before we reach a final determination." The injury also prompted discussions over how such situations should be handled during broadcasts, as Amazon faced criticism for airing multiple, graphic replays of the injury during the telecast, and limiting discussion of the event during the halftime show. The first injury was discussed during a segment of the pre-game show, and acknowledged by color commentator Kirk Herbstreit after the second injury. A more extensive discussion did occur during the post-game show, where reporter Michael Smith stated that "I think there's room for both concern for Tua and frustration and outrage." ESPN analyst Chris Canty argued that the lack of discussion at halftime was an example of the NFL protecting its own interest, while NBC Sports Pro Football Talk analyst Michael David Smith felt it was hypocritical of Richard Sherman to have signed with Amazon to join the Thursday Night Football studio panel, despite his previous criticisms of the game's over player safety.